Might be going live. Yes, it looks like we're live.
Yay!
So there's a little bit of a delay. All right. So hi, I'm Rachel.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi, Rachel. I'm Lisa Juwan.
Lisa.
Hello.
We're so excited to do this. Eee!
I'm so excited. My little tea in my hand.
What kind of tea are you drinking today?
I'm drinking black tea with calendula or calendula, potato.
Okay. What
So
is that? Is that an herb?
it is an herb. It's a flower herb. So very good for the skin.
Mm.
Yes.
Now, are these in tea bags or loose leaf tea?
I have loose leaf tea.
Awesome.
Yes. Have my little
Awesome.
teapot. Mm-hmm.
Cheers. So if anybody else
Cheers.
wants to grab some tea and have a little tea time with us, we're going to have a little tea time.
Yay. Tea
Cheers.
time. Cheers.
I've got ginger and peppermint.
Mmm. Very good. Good for the
Actually,
tummy.
it is. It is. And the lungs.
Yes.
With a
Very
bunch of
important.
organic honey.
Mm-hmm.
I've had this sort of like tickling cough on and off for months.
Yeah,
I think I remember you had a little cough at the end of last year too.
I did. Yep, for 3
Oh,
months. It was too
I'm so glad that's over with for you.
long.
Oh my
Me
goodness.
too. Yes, we're all moving through it.
We're all moving through it. It's like this collective thing going on with so many people I talk to that have like had this cold or this cough or this flu thing. But anyways, with my tea, I got a bunch of raw organic ginger and peeled it off and then chopped it
Oh,
up and boiled it
yeah.
up just about an hour ago, boiled some of it up and I just used bags because I had some
Mm-hmm.
peppermint tea bags, put them in there with some organic honey and oh, it's helping so much.
That's awesome.
So good. So today, for everyone watching, welcome to our How We Heal podcast number uno. Today is April 13th, 2020. We are in Orlando and Winter Park, Florida. And 2 days ago on the 11th, I was riding my bicycle around. It was a beautiful day. And I thought, we should just do this. Let's just do it now. Let's get this going. People are home. We're home. What better time to talk about how we heal, than now? So to get that conversation going, and Lisa said that would be amazing. So anyway, so we've been chatting
Yes.
about it for the last couple of days, and I'm just so glad to be here with you, Lisa, getting this conversation going.
Grateful for you. Thank you so much for rekindling this little spark that we had originally talked about. I think that when you and I started discussing it, and then we really talked about the timing of when we wanted to bring this forth, this beautiful offering, and we looked at the dates. So the numerology today is absolutely amazing, right?
We love numbers.
We do love numbers.
It's something we have in common.
The 13th is a 4. So we have April, which is 4, the 13th, which is a 4, 2020, which is 4. So we're reliving this energy vortex of 444 that we had last week or a week and a half ago.
Yeah, the global meditation on the 4th, right?
Yeah.
So the actual 4-4 day, and it's interesting, I've had some thoughts about that, like how the 4-4-4 and the number 4, we're in a year 4, and the number 4 and what it represents in terms of the foundation. Yep. And so many healers are talking about that too. We're having that conversation about how we're giving the opportunity to create a new foundation, to almost wipe the slate clean and create this foundation for what we want our lives to be about. What meaning do we want to give our lives? We're in the midst of a crisis, a global crisis, and many people are suffering, many people are confused, and many people are seeing this as the opportunity, if they're so inclined, to go into a deeper sense of, what do I want life to really, mean? And the 13, today being a 13 is a divine feminine number.
Absolutely.
In terms of the history of women being eradicated from the story of, priesthood and,
Hmm.
leadership and all of that, and the no 13th floor on the elevator and all of that.
Yeah.
It represents the 13th moon, the old calendar before we
Oh, yes.
switched over.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I know that's something you like to think about a lot, is that switch of the calendar. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think especially right now because we're transitioning. I mean, officially now we are in the spring, which is in here in Orlando, it's summer already. But to honor the actual changing of the tide and the wheel and the circle of life and the actual seasons, now is the time to be able to start planting our seeds. It's the springtime. So we're going to plant seeds with love and then really work on fertilizing the dirt and watering our crops that we're going to be able to benefit from here in the next handful of months. So, really ushering in newfound thoughts and really what we want to manifest and really what we want to bring into the now. And that includes our mindset and living from a healthy state of mind. I know that this transitional period that we are in now with this global madness, this craziness, this fear that has come across all of us is a time for us to be able to actually sit back, reflect, and really to go inward and to tap into what we are really needing for ourselves to be able to grow and to evolve. And so the greatness of this time, if we needed to look for like a silver lining, is to be able to slow down
Yeah,
and spend some time with ourselves and inside and outside with nature to develop that relationship with Mother Earth, with our mama again, to be able to help harness, anchor in some energy and reground ourselves.
I love that. I mean, after all, aren't we just part of Earth anyways? So
Yeah,
if there's any connection to anything, that's really the truth, is that we are in this planet and we're part of it. There's no separation, right? And
absolutely.
I wonder, we talked about something, and I want to bring back to an intention that we set before the show, that maybe we could do like just a little guided meditation, kind of maybe a little art practice or a little process that we could offer the viewers of this show, of this experience,
Yes,
um, dedicated to that connection, maybe today.
I love
What do you
that.
think? Yeah,
I yeah, I think so. I think that helping since we are inside and we are able to slow down, helping tap into some of our lower chakras so then we can help come into heart space more. And when I think of tapping into lower chakras, for me, it comes with like that primal grounding and then that creativity. And so bringing in art, whether that looks like coloring in a coloring book or painting, um, or getting outside and actually just getting your feet in some dirt and finding some leaves and some branches and maybe some acorns and things and create something pretty for yourself to be able to either hang on your wall or just to take a picture of and have something substantial that will help remind you that we are all connected
yeah,
and we're all able to be at peace and at one with nature as much as we can. So maybe like a flower mandala, that would be
yeah.
fun.
Any kind of dedication that we can do, and
Mm-hmm.
um, so what I didn't do in the beginning was to kind of introduce who we are, and in the sense of why we would even be doing a video about how we heal. And many of you know who I am, and some of you know who Lisa is, and um, but we're going to just talk a little bit about the kind of work we've been doing on the healing level for however many years we've been doing it. And Lisa and I actually met at a workshop that I was offering. Is that right?
Yes, I want to say it was almost 4 or 5 years ago.
I
This was
think
back at Soul Center when that was
that's right.
still around. Hmm.
I think you're right. I think maybe I want to say 5, but it might have been 4. Yeah, maybe like 4.5. It was a
Yeah,
mindful, was it the mindful morning retreat or was it an afternoon workshop?
it was early morning. We had watched the sun come up over the water, and then that was so amazing to be able to see the birds and the animals and like just everything come to life. You see the morning rituals that the birds would have with their cleansing, and they're playing with each other. And then after we watched the sunrise, we did our mindful walk through
Yeah.
that little courtyard,
And
and that
that
was
was such a
beautiful.
special place to do that too, because you could hear the sound of the feet on the gravel, because it had that gravel
Hmm.
pathway. And I
Yeah.
love that. I love remembering
Hmm.
that sound, and how, for me, the work that I've done with mindfulness has been so profound and healing for me. And I know that that was a big part of my work then at that time, was to do the mindfulness groups and the morning um, retreats. And we had the lake that we could utilize there,
Hmm.
and the space at Soul Center, which was so lovely. It is now closed. It has been closed for a little while now, but we're so lucky that we got to use it. I feel like it's such a
Yeah.
privilege, and that's another thing about this time, is really honoring the privilege that when we do get together, what a privilege that is. Um, so yeah, so I guess, for those people who will be watching this in the future on YouTube and on all the different channels that this will be put out on, I'm a yoga and meditation teacher and a Reiki master, and I've been doing healing work on myself since I was a baby, since I came into this world. Um, but really stepping into my role as healer or facilitator, guide, right? Since um, well, yoga teacher in my 20s, but really stepping into this role for about the last 10, 15 years, using art, using meditation, using mindfulness, using yoga, and then also using hypnosis and vision quest and journeying and sound healing. And as my own practice has developed through the years, I I feel so grateful for all of the modalities and the different ways of healing that, and this is, I think, something that we can really talk about a little bit more today, which is that each person has their own unique individual way of doing. And I think a lot of times people get caught up in, am I doing it right? Um, you know, and
Yeah.
show me how to do it so that I do it right. And yes, in the beginning, sure, we want to kind of learn the ropes and understand what all these tools are. But really what it's about is finding a way to trust yourself within yourself and get in touch with, accessing the wisdom that's already here. So
Mhm.
that, I guess, is what my work is about.
Yes, and that intuition, right? Like leaning in and trusting your own self and your intuition and what is best for you individually.
That's
I
right.
love that because you do
Yeah.
such a good job honoring that.
Oh, thank you. And that's my
Yeah.
hope, is to hold space for that for others, because, I think that's just the bottom line, is to get to that point where you just say, my way is okay. And if I feel like crap today and I need to just not even try to create today, I'm going to honor that, because I know that's part of my healing process. That's part of what I need to go through. And doing it with that mindful observation of compassion for yourself. And I think self-compassion is, I guess, to me, if you really want to nutshell it, that's the major healing force, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
But I'm always so intrigued, because you and I have similar healing journeys in a way, but I'd love to hear, and we've talked about it, but I'd love to hear how you would introduce yourself. you
I
know
know it's always so awkward when you have to speak of yourself, right? You're like, how would you describe me? No, but,
Beautiful,
well,
wonderful.
thank you.
That's how I would describe you.
Well, my name is Lisa Jawan, and I am a Reiki master. I work with healing modalities, obviously with Reiki, sound healing as well. I also work with herbs and crystals. So those have been my favorite, my go-tos. I started working with divination tools, I guess, when I was very young. My mom was the very first person who bought me my very first tarot deck when I was very young. And I remember opening up this card, this deck, and I'm like, oh, this is magical. And I kind of tinkered with that for a couple of years until I was in my mid to late teens, and then I kind of set that aside. But I really feel like now my draw, my passion, the love is to be able to help others really dust off like their amnesia, to really remember that they have the healing power inside of them already, that it is in our DNA. It's a gift that we were given, and it's kind of just been brushed under the rug for a little bit. So reawakening that remembrance for others to be able to help heal themselves, and even being able to help people do some healing through the Akashic. So the Akashic Records being, in essence, a cosmic, a spiritual library that's a living and breathing library that's always constantly moving. And this record is for us to be able to access. And it's been around for each of us since we were incarnated on this planet. So being able to get some deeper answers into what that feels like, kind of like your
Yeah.
D2H. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, and I see it as a direct access, that everyone has. And you were talking about the deprogramming. I use the word deprogramming. You didn't
Yep.
say deprogramming. To dust off the amnesia, you
Mm-hmm.
said.
Yep.
And I feel like, well, in terms of understanding how we become forgetful of those abilities that are there, I think it's been happening for generations upon generations, right? You
Absolutely.
know, the um, the power structures, as it were, in civilized worlds, as
Mm-hmm.
civilization has evolved over time, have imparted this idea that no, you don't have those powers, you don't have those abilities, you have to seek outside yourself for those types of things, when truly they are within, and we just need to develop and cultivate them. There's no you're psychic and you're psychic, but I'm not. No, we
Right.
all have those abilities, right? Dormant within us.
Yes. Yes. Everybody has their own specific gifts, and not one person won't be exactly the same as the other. But especially with being psychic, we all have a little bit of that in us. But then there's other gifts, like you have your awesome offerings that you have, just like I do. And then it's awesome to be able to see how we have the similarities that come in.
Yeah. And we're all feelers. We're humans.
Yeah.
If you want, I mean, I hate to use this word, but it's just for the sake of a metaphor. We're feeling machines. We're
Mm-hmm.
biochemical, energetic consciousness beings with this thing that we do called feeling.
Yes.
And that is what connects us, this emotional connection. That's what makes us not machines. you
Right.
know the ability to feel. And for some, we don't know what to do with those feelings, or we were told
Yeah.
not to feel, or not shown how to feel,
Mm-hmm.
or that you to be afraid
Yes.
of your feelings. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
emotional healing is a big part of that dusting off of the amnesia. um, is a big part of that healing process, to get in touch with the capacity to hold space for whatever is here to be felt, in
Mm-hmm.
order to get to that place of accessing divination, like you were saying. And I want to bring back that divination you mentioned, that you since you were a young child, you've been exposed to different ways of that. You've been exposed, I
Yes.
know you've been exposed to various American Indian, Native American, tribal traditions.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, I've been exposed to, it's interesting, I grew up in a very interesting environment. Maybe we'll talk about our childhood on another show.
That would
But
be awesome.
with that kind of also ability or idea, or awareness that one could have a direct relationship with a divine, or a god, or
Mm-hmm.
spirit, or essence, or source, or whatever you want to call it. you
Yes.
know
Mm-hmm.
and so that direct access, I think when we say divination, it's a way that's let's talk about what that means. What does it mean to you?
For divination, I think for me, I mean, for everybody, it could mean something different.
Yeah.
Um, for me, divination is being able to actually feel an openness from my heart up into like the higher chakras where you get into like the third eye and this intuition, right? And then there's this knowing that happens. And then there's almost like this portal that kind of opens up at the top of your head, and you feel like you're so connected to source or to God or to the universe or whatever you feel comfortable with calling it. But that divination is that divineness that comes into self to be able to activate this heart opening and this intuitive nature, and like knowing that, okay, it's okay for me to be expansive. Like I can ask these questions, I can move into this higher frequency, this vibration, this resonance that is naturally feels wonderful, once you actually experience it, or you allow for yourself to move into that space.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what it means for me. What about for you?
I love that. I love that. You just brought to mind all of this awareness. So for me, I have a lot of inner sight that happens too when that process, because it is all about the heart, isn't it? Really. I mean, when we use the heart, because the heart is the portal, right? The heart is the bridge. It's the connector. It's how we connect with. If you're on Facebook and you're watching, I'd like to see maybe some comments about how you connect. If you're watching this on YouTube in the future, or Facebook in the future, um, watching this now is, it's always now, so
Yeah.
whoever's watching this video, um, what are some of the ways that you connect? What are some of the ways that you have been reminded of ways to have direct access with the inner awareness of source, and that you are connected with that divine energy of oneness, right?
Yeah.
Where all the information resides, where we can receive. And you described it as this like portal, or this awareness above you, and that's really what happens for me, is like an inner awareness of light and almost shapes and information that comes through, and I really start to get a sense that my guides are with me, that I'm protected, that I have beings that are there that are assisting in this process, and that just automatically starts to make me feel the energy, and it's coming into my body and my being and my awareness, and the breath is such a big part of that too, isn't it? Breath is
uh,
everything.
Everything. I mean, it allows for us to have life for the next day. When we wake up in the morning, it's the first thing that we do, right? Is take our first breath for the day. It's our reboot, our starting for the day. Yes, the breath.
It's how we can access too. It's like the way of move. If we don't breathe, we're not going to access those higher states, and we're certainly also not going to be able to have a balanced physical more experience here on earth too, if we're not breathing. So breathing, right? It's the big one.
Breathing. Yes. Well, and even if there's any sort of discomfort, or you're feeling joy or ecstatic pleasure or whatever, that breath is always something that helps carry you through anything that
Yes.
you're going through. So yeah,
Yes.
breath
And
is important.
what were you going to say there? I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
Oh, no, I was just saying breath is very, very important. It's up there with shelter, water, and food.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's so many folks right now, I feel like, who would be watching this at this time that, may benefit from some anchoring right now, some anchoring.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can do just like a little breathing and anchoring here for a moment, um, and then talk about a little bit of a dedication that we could do with an art piece. What do you think? Maybe a little
That sounds good.
process? Does that sound
Yeah,
okay?
let's do it. I think
Okay.
so.
So anchoring, what does that mean, and why do we do it? Anchoring is being here and now in this moment, and the breath and the body are our ways to anchor in to earth and be present and have all that scattered energy that might be happening start to become cohesive, right? To create that more steadiness, to feel that we can draw it all into a focused state of being. And when our mind and our hearts and our emotions and our energy are calmer and more focused and steady, then we can make choices and decisions that can lift our energy up. Yeah. So anchoring, let's take 3 breaths together and fill the body and exhale. 2 more. Big deep breath in, fill up, fill your lungs, fill your belly, and exhale. One more time. Big breath in. Exhale. Just already noticing that energy is starting to happen, right? It brings a little bit of energy in. So maybe a little visualization too, right? So imagine that as you're breathing now, just aware of your breath, that you can drop your focus down into your belly, and then down through your legs, and then down into the earth. And just feeling that anchor drop down into the earth. And focusing on how the breath moves up through the body to the top of the head when you inhale, and goes down through the body all the way through the center into the earth when you exhale. And I think that's a great way to anchor. And it doesn't take that long, does it? So often when we feel scattered, we go into fight, flight, or freeze, and we forget, what do we do? Oh no, what do I do? 3 breaths. 3 more anchoring. Inhale up, inhale down, and then bringing that calm in. So what's coming up for you as we do that little exercise, Lisa?
Well, I always think that breathing exercises, and anytime you walk through any kind of meditation, it's real yummy.
I'll make sure and do more of that.
Thanks.
Lisa loves my
Yeah.
meditations.
Yes. Well, I'll
Thank
tell
you.
you, when you do your meditations, it's almost like you, and I know that it's not just me because it's been shared whenever I've been in a group, in a collective with you, and you've done a group meditation too, where everyone has come up to you and you're like, I swear you were talking specifically for me. You have this amazing gift that just really personalizes the meditation and it connects with people in such a deeper level. And so anytime you do any sort of meditation, you do a walkthrough with that, to me it just takes me right back into like this, into my womb space and into like this safe haven where I feel really comfortable, really at home. I feel nourished. I feel like a big hug, a warmth, comes over and around me, and it just kind of holds the space for me. So that's really what I feel. I'd be curious to know what everybody at home is feeling too, as they did that little breathing exercise.
Wow, thanks. Me too. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like when we share what our experiences are of these processes together, it amplifies the energy.
Yeah,
And so, ultimately, when we do this together, it's all about intention, isn't it? It's all about where we're coming from and why we're doing what we're doing.
yeah,
And if the why is for compassion and care and understanding and inclusivity and authentic way of being, then that energy is really felt. And you do the same for me, Lisa. When we get together, I always feel so nourished, accepted, and you help me just kind of like bring things into like, you know what, it's okay, we don't need to worry about that right now.
yeah,
Let's just be with where we're at, and I'm like, oh, thank you, that just takes the pressure off. And kind of it validates and gives me
yeah,
permission to just be myself. So I think that is the true blessing of a gifted healer. So thank you for your
yeah.
presence in my life.
Thank you. Of course. Yeah, that's the Aries double Scorpio energy that comes in. The
Thank
fire
you.
and the water.
Yeah. And I've
I
got
love that.
like the Capricorn grounding energy. It's funny, sometimes I may feel like I'm all over the place, but people say their experience of me is not that. Although
Mhm.
must say sometimes it is, and it used to be a lot of that. I've had to do a lot of hard work to access the truth of my earth energy and transform the Leo moon that I have from a kind of like a angstiness into just like that compassion and creativity and all of that. So it's taken some time and some doing.
Same for me though too. We're always all working, right? I mean, and if we're not expanding and growing, then what are we doing?
Oh, and I
That's
bet others,
amazing.
everybody else can relate to that too, you know. I mean, that
Mhm.
like it's a journey, it's a process, and whatever these modalities are and ways that we heal that we'll be talking more about on, I'm sure, future shows too. Maybe we'll get into a little bit more of the modalities more specifically. I'm
Yes,
feeling that. I'm feeling that. Yeah.
me too.
Yeah, like I'm
Yeah.
having an urge to do it now, but it's our first show, so let's
Yes,
just kind of
we'll
ease it.
save. Yeah, we'll save some of the more fun stuff for later. Give them
Yeah,
something else to look forward to. Oh,
totally.
I have another tip that people can use for being at home. For those of us, I live downtown, so it's hard for me to find a nice tree and some grass. But there is a little pointer that I can gift to people if they are willing to be able to receive it, and how to help ground themselves when we're living in such a hustle bustle world. And maybe it is harder for us to be able to get outside and get in the dirt, but it's so simple. Everybody at home, I'm sure, has tinfoil. You
Mm.
take out a piece of tinfoil and then you stand on it. It actually helps discharge some of those free radicals.
What? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's so easy. So, yeah,
That
you
makes
should
a lot
try
of
that.
sense because if we're talking about positive and negative ions, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And the build up of positive ions, you know, and I think people, you know, watching this might go, what? You can look up earthing, grounding,
Mm-hmm.
forest healing. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of research on this out there that talks about
Absolutely.
how we get a build up of positive ions, which can contribute to and exacerbate anxiety, depression,
Mm-hmm.
restlessness, frustration, and inability to think clearly, a feeling of, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just Urgh.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's like a battery charge, right? Positive and negative polarity. So we get like a buildup of that kind of energy. It's not woo woo, man. This is like what's going on a physiological level,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And if we can dispel
Scientifically.
that scientifically, baby, but we don't necessarily need science to prove that to us. This stuff's been going on for thousands of years and we're okay with that validation.
Yes.
So
Yes. And we have a knowing. We have a knowing that that's actually what happens, because you can feel a difference.
you can feel a difference. It's the proof is in the pudding, right? I mean, ultimately, when you get down to it, it's all about a personal experience. The way that we know something is true is if it's true for us, right?
Absolutely. Yes. You take what resonates with you, and anything else, then you don't need to bring that into you.
It
So it's all
doesn't
good.
even need to come into the stratosphere. It's like, nope,
Yep.
that's not resonating for me. And it doesn't mean that we need to like push it away and say that's wrong. And anybody who believes that is wrong, it just means, nope, not for me, maybe
Yep.
for somebody else. But right now, that's not what's working for me, you know?
That's right. Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. I'm going to try that. I have never tried that before with the tinfoil standing on it and just feeling difference. I'm going to have to try that out. That's super
Yeah.
cool.
Let me
You
know
know,
what you think.
I so will. I so will do that. I absolutely will do that. Yeah. I'll report back and let you know.
I love it. I love it.
Oh my goodness. What a time to be alive, right? What a time.
We're living in what is going to be history in our children's textbooks and our children's textbooks. We're actually experiencing it and living it right now. Like, how
Yeah.
amazing of a time, right?
Incredible. Yeah. It
Yeah.
really is. It really is. It's, you know, and I know that there's a lot of emotions going on for so many of us. And some days it's like, oh, I can handle this. And other days it's like, I cannot handle this, you know. And I think you and I were talking a little bit about that before
Yeah.
we went live. And do you want to share a little bit about what it's been like for you since this whole thing hit?
Oh, yeah. I think for me personally, let me just preface maybe even by saying, like, people think so often that if you're a healer and you're a light worker, or you're, you do yoga and you practice meditation, that there aren't moments where you feel some lower vibrational, some lower frequency kind of feeling.
Right.
Or, they almost kind of want to take out like the human experience part of it.
Right.
And when all of this was going on, started going on, I was very fearful. I really like let that kind of sink in, and man, could I tell a difference in my energy level. And I wasn't fearful for becoming sick. I was more fearful for what this meant for the collective um, in that time frame, and the collective in a non-spiritual way. And as I started to move through it, and then the days would kind of pass on, and I just knew that I needed to find like my silver lining, like the light. I needed to help raise my vibration and my frequency, because I was living in this lower vibration, this lower frequency that wasn't serving me. I had stopped meditating for about a week. I wasn't working out. I wasn't taking minerals and taking care of, the temple and the vessel, and making sure that I was completely honoring myself and helping myself heal in a capacity in which I was previously. And so it was quite surprising to me
Yeah.
to see how fast I was removed from
Sure.
this peaceful, loving state that I was in. But I acknowledged it. I experienced it. I witnessed it, and I became the observer of it instead of letting it kind of get into
Right.
my body.
Yeah.
I just decided that I was going to be the observer and honor if I needed to rest and I needed to sleep. I allowed for myself to be able to rest and to
Yeah.
be able to actually nurture myself in that way, knowing that that would end up providing a loving place of compassion for myself to help motivate myself to be
Hmm.
feeling better. I
Yeah.
guess it's just
There's
the
always
most
another
simple way.
side to the emotion. I mean, even in times of crisis, the intensity is there, yes, but the emotion of what we go through is ever flowing and ever moving. And there's always another side to it. And you gave yourself the space, kindness, and permission to feel what you were feeling and going through. And it's so true, that point about teachers and healers and this idea that, we don't get sick or we're not injured or whatever. I mean, it's all about
Mm-hmm.
learning how to heal, and it's an ever evolving process. As it be living in a human body, we're all going to go through challenges whatever we do.
Yep.
And if we talk about mastery, that's just about getting to know what tools work for you and finding out when to use them and
Mm-hmm.
practicing it over and over again, just like
Yeah.
riding a bike. Eventually you master that bicycle and you can ride it with no
Mm-hmm.
hands. See, mom, you know?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so, and then also laughing along the way, because sometimes the things that we thought were going to work don't work and we have to try something else, and going, okay, you know, like, maybe I'm evolving, maybe I'm changing, and maybe that's why certain things that weren't working aren't working anymore. Maybe it's time for me to try something different, and I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
us are maybe going through that right now, outside of our comfort zone. I mean, here we are on Zoom, this technology, and so many folks are like, what, we're going online, I don't even know, what do I do, how do I do this, I've never been. So there's a curve to everything, and getting comfortable with this new way of doing, and whatever the new normal. It's funny, that word normal is, I've never quite understood what normal is, but that's just me. I've always been an outside of the box kind of person, if you know what I mean. um,
Yeah.
oh gosh, and I know I wasn't going to talk about, okay, just a little snippet about BQH, Beyond Quantum Healing. I
Well,
just have to.
yes, but I also want to know about you.
Oh
How have
yeah,
you been?
how's it
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
going for?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I get off of a tangent. Thank
But
you.
yes,
Bring me
but
back. Bring me back.
I want to know about you too. But I do want to hear about BQH also.
Okay, a little bit about the BQH thing and then my journey. The BQH thing is, I had this experience when I was, well, I do facilitate it, but I was on the receiving end for this one. And I had this experience in another lifetime of being, of seeing so clearly how, for many, many lifetimes, including this one, there's these different realities that people are living in, right? The reality of, oh my God, what are we going to do? And the reality of, here we are, we know how to take care of each other, right? And those are happening simultaneously in this dimension. There are different experiences, and some people know about both, and some people only know about one or the other, and we're all in these different ways of being. And I think for me, that outside of the box means I'm always available to the here we are and we know how to help each other. Um, but it's not so out of the box. Isn't that what family is all about? You know, I feel like we all have that inside of us, and now we're just accessing what that means. So to answer your question, I think that's kind of what this has been like for me. And I have gone through my waves too. If I get too sucked into reading about all the different theories out there about why this is happening and who and what and where and why and what's going to happen and all of that, I will be really affected, and I will feel a welling up of intensity within me that we can call fear. It doesn't start to get too cognitive for me because I've done a lot of work on the cognitive with fears, but I sure feel it like in my body and like, and it starts to make me have a hard time focusing on what I need to do right now. And then I kind of get stuck and I stop and I freeze. So I get like in a freeze, like fight, flight, or freeze, right? Mine is a freeze.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
go-to trauma stress response is freeze. For some people it's fight, right? Some people it's run away. I'm a little bit of flight, like I'll hide, you know? My flight is like, no, I don't want to see it. I gotta run away, you know, and it used to be like really numb out too, you know. I think I've been doing a lot of work on the numbing out part. But the old waves of like when I was a kid and I would get really stressed and anxious, I would get so sick of my stomach that I would throw up. Oh my goodness, you know? And so
Yeah.
that kind of like energy is, and if you think about the doshas too, in terms of Ayurveda, you know, Vata, Pitta, Kapha,
Yeah.
so definitely the, you know, Vata, Pitta, we can talk about that another time too. But yeah, I've definitely gone through waves with this, and of like, okay, what should I do? Should I be doing this X, Y, and Z, or should I be doing LMNOP? And getting distracted by what am I supposed to do, and kind of forgetting, so that forgetfulness comes in, and then I have to do my work to bring myself back to know I know what to do.
Yeah. I found
I know what to
that
do.
over the past 2 weeks or so, when I've really disconnected from watching it, especially mainstream media, that my days became extremely more peaceful when I wasn't
Yeah.
listening and being a part of,
Mm-hmm.
for
The
lack of a
rhetoric.
better term, the rhetoric, the agenda that is being presented to us by the
Mm-hmm.
mainstream. And
Mm-hmm.
when I disconnected from that, I felt a much more deeper peace and realignment with myself.
Absolutely. And you know, a lot of folks might accuse healers of putting their heads in the sands as if this isn't going on, and that isn't what we're saying. We're not saying don't be aware. We're not saying don't look at the CDC site and look at, you know, your county, know what's going on
Mm-hmm.
with your neighbors, and be aware and mindful and present with what you need to do for your own self-care and the care of others, and be respectful of the space, and not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily social distancing, but physical distancing. We respect that this is going on, but it doesn't mean we need to get caught up in all of the information that's swarming,
Yeah,
because that's certainly not going to help anyone get through this if we're just constantly on edge, you know.
absolutely.
And that's the immune response, right? And so many
Yeah,
people are talking about this too. We're not the only ones, obviously,
no.
but if we're not inducing calm deliberately
Mm-hmm.
every single day, then we're not supporting our immune system. We may be taking all the supplements in
Yeah,
the world, but we have to induce calm
yeah.
deliberately. And
Mm-hmm.
when we, like you said, it was just so much easier for you to feel more uplifted, in a happier mood, in a graceful mood. When you're feeling that way, do more of that,
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, and that's
Keep
not to
feeding it.
say keep feeding it. Yes,
Mhm.
and like you were saying too, and I appreciate that you said like we're not sweeping anything under the rug or turning a blind eye to it. I think that really one of the beautiful things about this time now as well is people are being allowed to slow down and to do their own research on things, to be able to see what fulfills them and to be able to see what information actually resonates with them. And if they have questions, they're able to actually research and really kind of get a good feeling of really what's going on in what their reality is, because that's
what your
really what
reality
we
is.
have.
That's right. Yeah, in your sphere of awareness, in your sphere of existence. How can I support my life and my reality? And that doesn't mean that you don't care about others. That just means if we're all doing that, then we can support each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this time has
Right?
been amazing because this is a time of awakening for many. And what an amazing time to be able to do that, to have this amnesia that's starting to fall for more people, for
Or more people.
greater mass to be able to actually come into their knowing and come into their heart center and to be able to come into this intuitive place of like, this is reality and I'm having this experience, and how can I go through to make sure that I'm healing myself, honoring myself, and putting myself in a place that's going to be able to benefit me.
That's right. That's beautiful. So how can we take that theme right there and do a closing process? Maybe with a little bit of art or journaling, reflection. What do you think?
I think that that would be great. I think that that would be great. What do you think about, well, maybe it looks different for everyone at home, but what do you feel like for an art project for yourself?
Well, I feel like no matter what we're about to do, whether that exercise is just an internal creativity journey, or if it's external, journaling and writing, or creating an image, or going outside and finding something that resonates, no matter what you're going to be doing, it starts with an intention
Mm-hmm.
and some breath. And the intention here sounds like, how in this moment, how can I listen to myself, right? So for any of you watching, why don't we just start with this intention piece and then move into the creation and just let it unfold naturally. And then Lisa, you can take us through another piece of that. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay. So coming back to the breath, right? It's always like, where do I start? Start with the breath, baby, and then let it guide your way. That's always the answer. Start with the breath, connect with the earth. All right. So inhaling and exhaling. And I'm feeling that the intention for this is a gift that you can give yourself as a reminder from your own inner wisdom. We call that our higher self, right? Our inner wisdom is our higher self, the higher aspect of being, which is where all wisdom lies within. So we're just going to take a breath or two and invite in the connection with that aspect of self. We can call it the muse, even. The part of yourself that's always there to offer inspiration, guidance, and truth. And we're going to ask that part of ourselves, what can you show me right now, or say to me right now, or help me remember right now that I can think about, or write about, or draw about, or color about. While I'm coloring in my coloring book, I'm considering this memory, or I'm considering this reminder. And this reminder is something that is eventually going to be tangible, that you'll find an object in your home or an object outside, or create that object with a drawing, or create it through writing, that is a message from your own inner self that answers the question, when I'm feeling out of alignment, what is it that I need? What is it that I need to nurture myself? And right now, maybe just asking that question of yourself, and maybe it's something you feel comfortable sharing in the comment thread in the video, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're watching this. Just, asking yourself right now, what is it that I need to nurture myself? What is it that I need? What is it that I can do to bring myself into that higher vibrational state? What is it that I can do to create joy in this moment? And you're just listening for the answer from within yourself. Maybe a flash of a memory, maybe an image, maybe you actually sense words within or a feeling in your gut. Or like, oh yeah, that thing I've been wanting to do for a long time, that thing I've been saying I'm gonna do. Yeah, I wanna do that. And then just write it down, you know? Or make a circle on a piece of paper and write it out in the center and then doodle all around it and decorate it and put it up as a reminder. What other thoughts are coming to mind for you, Lisa?
I love all of that. I'm a big fan of creating mandalas. I love the visualization, the meditation piece that comes with that. I also started collecting um, flowers, flower petals. So I have had a beautiful arrangement that was delivered to me from my mom and then from my beloved. And so these flowers are now beginning to age. And so I want to be able to utilize these beautiful flowers. And so I'm collecting these flowers and some greenery. And I think what I'm going to do is do like a flower mandala. I think that's really what I'm going to do.
Love
So
that.
in the center, I have a beautiful yellow rose that I'm going to put in the center. And I have sunflowers and a few other really beautiful flower leaves that I've collected, and the greenery, obviously, to be able to just work on the center and then expand on the way out to be able to make this amazing visual. And I'll probably put it in one of my altar spaces here in the house just to be able to honor this springtime that we're moving into and this planting the seeds so we can be able to like revisit some of these new things that maybe I'd asked for myself in the beginning of the year. And now things are they're changing a little bit, they're altering a little bit. So what a good way to be
Yeah.
able to add that vision and that thought into whether it's an art piece that one ends up creating or some journal writing that they end up creating, or maybe it's working with some crystals or some other tools. Maybe, someone sits down with their oracle deck and they want to be able just to receive some blessings and some additional messages from the angels, from the powers that be, and what that looks like. And there's a lot of different things that one can do, but it's really just what makes each individual person happy.
Yeah. And the process of creating that, I can just see it, from the center working your way out. It's such a slow journey, and it kind of forces you to be very present to just the activity of what you're doing in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
um, and and the longevity of it, the amount of time that it takes to create that mandala, that wheel,
Mm-hmm.
that that circular meditative focal image, um, starts to bring, kind of just let the thoughts fade off, right? So that you're just really with the emotion of what you're doing and what you're creating and how it makes you feel too.
Yes, it
Yeah,
becomes very
that's
meditative.
that process.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Process versus perfect outcome. It's more about the doing of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So I just think that's great. I love it. I love it. I love it, Lisa. I love
Thank
it.
you.
Wow, there's so much we can talk about, and I know that we will. We will. We will. Um, Maybe next time we'll look at the idea of the vision board. What do you think?
I think that would be
Maybe
amazing.
we
That'd be
can
great.
even do a little bit of vision boarding on the next
I,
session together and
mm-hmm.
talk about that. What do you think? Yeah?
That sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
I know
I'm,
we, before today, what's that?
I was going
What
to
are you
say,
going to say?
I'm curious to know the viewers at home that are being able to walk through this journey with us, what they're interested in hearing about. I wonder if they have any insight or thought process of what maybe they're wanting to know a little bit more about. but I do love the vision boarding. I have mine for
Totally.
the year, and my board is continuously updating now as the times have changed and we're moving into a new paradigm. So
Totally. The story is shifting, and whatever was on that vision board might have meant something to us then, but maybe it means a little something different now.
yeah,
And then how do we continue that? Yeah, I'd love to hear what others want to hear about too. What would you like to hear us talk about? And not just us, but also you. We're going to be bringing in other friends here for to have three of us having discussions about how you heal, and but share that in the comments. How are you working on your own self healing in this time? How are you taking care of yourself? Comment.
yeah,
Oh yeah, and like the video and share it with friends. And if you're on YouTube, if you don't mind clicking the little subscribe button, there's also a little bell icon that if you touch that, it gives you notifications of when new videos come out, because I feel like in the future we'll probably be doing some YouTube lives too. So we'll see how this all flows. But I just got to say, I am so grateful. I'm going to look over right now at the Facebook Live, because right now we're just communicating through Zoom, and the Facebook Live I have to check. And I just want to go through and say thank you to Astrid.
hi A.
uh, Erica, Lisa, Lily, Eileen, Laureen, Michelle, Renee, Abby, Taylor, Lizzie, Chris, Patty, Angel, Mishi, and everyone else. Absolutely grateful for you all.
Thank you.
And Lisa, I love you.
I love you, Rachel. Thank you.
So we'll
So
see you all
happy for
next
this time.
time. Oh, I'm so happy for this time too, Lisa.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say before we close the show, Lisa?
Sending many blessings, a lot of love and light to everyone. Looking forward to the next.
Me too. Me too. We'll see you all next time for episode 2 of How We Heal. Okay. Ciao for now.
Ciao.
Take care. Be well. Be safe.